I'm Donna Wickham, President of Keystone Assessment. Thanks for joining us today for this free presentation on meaningful vocabulary instruction with complex texts. The focus of vocabulary instruction for students with extensive learning needs has changed in recent years, from personal and functional vocabulary to vocabulary directly related to increasing literacy skills necessary to understand grade-level texts. We have developed several trainings for teachers based upon common strategies appropriate for all students to help them improve their skills in teaching vocabulary with this new context in mind. This presentation introduces vocabulary strategies as essential to supporting instruction with complex texts and shows how the specific strategy of using shades of meaning can be implemented. You can view this presentation as many times as you like. Please come back soon for our presentation on the strategies of vocabulary cards and collaborative conversations. If you have any questions, please contact Jessica McCord or any other Keystone staff member. Also, we'd like to invite you to view the other free resources and mini workshops we have available and to sign up for our free monthly newsletter, which you can do at the bottom of any Keystone webpage. Thanks again for visiting and for your commitment to improving instruction for students with extensive learning needs.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jessica McCord, and I'm a consultant here at Keystone. I'd like to welcome you to the second in our series focused on students with extensive learning needs. The first in this series was all about making complex text accessible. Today we're going to focus on meaningful vocabulary instruction with complex texts. Whether your state is moving to the Common Core state standards or not, engaging students in meaningful, comprehensive literacy instruction is an important consideration for English language arts instruction for all students, including those with extensive learning needs. Students with extensive learning needs may have autism, intellectual disability, or other special needs. Often these students are reading well below grade level and may know only a few sight words. Often these students require individualized supports to access and demonstrate progress in literacy instruction aligned to grade level standards. The objectives for today's mini workshop are to think about vocabulary as one important component of comprehensive literacy instruction. We're also going to constructively critique traditional methods used for vocabulary instruction and compare to new strategies. Finally, we'll identify a few strategies to create accessible opportunities for all students to meaningfully interact with vocabulary instruction. Students with extensive learning needs have not traditionally been expected to work with grade-level standards-aligned content. Vocabulary instruction has often taken the form of using flashcards to learn words related to daily living and self-care. The shift to standards-aligned instruction for all students presents exciting opportunities to engage students with extensive learning needs in comprehensive literacy instruction that includes interaction with rich, interesting, and useful vocabulary. The National Reading Panel identified 5 areas that are essential for effective literacy instruction, and they are phonemic awareness, phonics, comprehension, vocabulary, and fluency. Some states have added attention to communication, and we agree that this additional component is imperative to effective literacy teaching and learning. Attention to vocabulary learning should be meaningfully embedded within comprehensive literacy instruction that includes attention to the ways all components interact with and support each other. No skills in any of the areas are prerequisites for accessing and being expected to make progress in others. Literacy skills should be thought of as a web instead of as a ladder. Teachers should understand these 5 components and their interrelationships well, so they can spiral and scaffold instruction to fill gaps in understanding while still ensuring student growth and overall literacy skills. Today, we're going to focus on ways to enhance vocabulary instruction within the context of comprehensive literacy. Traditional approaches to vocabulary instruction in both special and general education have been lacking. General educators have often given a list of words at the beginning of the week for students to memorize, look up in the dictionary, and use in sentences. Special educators who work with students with extensive learning needs have often focused only on functional sight words specific to daily living skills or self-care. Neither approach does justice to the important role vocabulary plays in rich, engaging literacy instruction. Words are exciting. They help us understand the world around us, interact with texts and people, and express ourselves in various ways. A standards-aligned approach to teaching vocabulary should be functional for all students, but that requires us to rethink what functional means. We define skills as functional if they are transferable across settings, improve the ability for students to interact with the world around them, and have meaning both to the individual and in the world around them. Vocabulary is embedded in all we do, whether in speaking, listening, reading, or writing. Using particular words can communicate a message full of personal voice and memorable meaning. Imagine only having a predetermined set of words that someone else chose for you to communicate basic needs and requests. How would your life be different if this were the case? When we limit our students to "I want bathroom" and similar phrases, we limit their ability to express themselves fully and to have rich, meaningful interactions with other people and the environment that surrounds them. Access to content-specific vocabulary is an essential component of accessing grade-level curriculum and can provide a starting point for teachers to collaborate and facilitate inclusive education opportunities for students with extensive learning needs. Differentiating vocabulary instruction means planning for and honoring the different paths that students can take to both learning and demonstrating understanding of the same content. Initial focus on differentiating vocabulary instruction often has an impact on the rest of your literacy instruction as well. Because vocabulary is so naturally embedded, it's difficult to teach in isolation unless you've purposefully planned it that way. Knowing the unique characteristics of your students and taking these into account when planning all instruction is important. Many states attend to oral language as a component of literacy, but what does that mean for our students who may not communicate in a conventional way? We have to think beyond the literal meaning of oral language to a more broad understanding of communication and interaction. Thinking ahead about the response needs of your students will allow you to facilitate meaningful participation through pre-programming communication devices, planning for small group instruction that may include specific strategies like systematic baiting and prompting or constant time delay to supplement activities you do with the whole class, embedding cooperative learning strategies, and thinking about ways to provide multiple opportunities for practice. We've adapted these 3 strategies from Fisher and colleagues, who have a book full of 50 instructional routines to develop content literacy. It's targeted to adolescent learners, but it works across grade levels and content areas, so you might consider picking that one up. These are strategies that can be used for all kids, and many general education teachers are familiar with these kinds of routines and activities. Knowing what's commonly used in general education classrooms can help to give you a common language when collaborating, which enhances opportunities for students with extensive learning needs to be included in general education classrooms. Vocabulary cards provide a new twist to a traditional strategy. An example of the final product is shown here. And here's what one would look like done on an interactive whiteboard or a computer. Collaborative conversations are guided, targeted conversations that might include a particular literacy focus. For example, when learning the word curmudgeon, students might be led in a whole group or small group conversation about the way the word looks, sounds, what they think it sounds like, what it might mean. Students might be encouraged to use it in a sentence. Think of synonyms, antonyms, etc. Future Keystone mini workshops will discuss easy ways to modify and accommodate the use of both vocabulary cards and collaborative conversation strategies. Today we're going to look more closely at shades of meaning. High-quality literature is essential in teaching literacy skills to students of all ages. The Chronicles of Harris Burdick is a collection of stories that's inspired by the artwork of Chris Van Allsburg, who is one of my very favorite authors of all time. The Chronicles of Harris Burdick is a collection of short stories that came from the illustrations and the short phrases that go along with the illustrations in a book called The Mysteries of Harris Burdick. I'd like to show you this just because there are boundless opportunities for using this text, for using each of the individual illustrations that they've printed out in this portfolio edition, to have up around the classroom or in stations. Basically, your imagination is the only limit for being able to use these particular resources. So the Chronicles of Harris Burdick is what I'm going to be using for this particular example. And again, like I said, it's a collection of short stories that are based on the artwork from the earlier text. Each story is based on one illustration, and so there are a lot of opportunities to plan rich lessons just from using this one complex text. Using this text, you can pull out target vocabulary for use before, during, or after reading one of the short stories as a class read aloud. You can choose powerful language that enhances the story with the purpose of students acquiring the use of this word in their own communication, reading, and writing. To use the Shades of Meaning strategy, you're going to gather some paint sample strips from your local hardware store that look like this. And when you walk in, you will probably get lots of funny looks from the hardware store employees, other people that are browsing paint strips as you gather them all to try and create a stockpile for your classroom. But I assure you that the hardware stores are usually very supportive of teachers who come in looking for these as resources for their classroom. And if you ask, sometimes they have big books of them on rings or bound one way or another of discontinued paint samples that they'll offer you if they're available. So just so you know what could be available to you. To plan for this lesson, you want to choose words that can be related to other words by degree. This can be degree of description, degree of intensity, could be used to illustrate how more powerful words are related to more common words. There are many ways to use this strategy, and it can be adapted for use with any text across grade levels. For this example, I've chosen the word snarl. I would remind my students of the context by reading the following from the story I've chosen. I flattened the awful thing with the smack of a chair. It heaved. It snarled. I swept it back under the rug. We would talk about what they think the word snarl means, and I would put that word in the center of my paint strip. Next, I would think aloud to brainstorm words that might not be as descriptive as the word snarl to demonstrate snarl to a lesser degree. I've chosen the word grumble. Next, I'm going to think aloud with my students as I come up with a word that is more intense than snarl. I've chosen the word bellow. Imagine the conversation that you could have around the relationship between the words snarl, grumble, and bellow. You provided a visual strategy for students to think about the relationship to the words, while also facilitating their interaction with new, powerful language that they can then begin to use in their own communication, reading, and writing. This visual representation can easily be adapted for use with technology, like an interactive whiteboard. Students can also be given choices of words to offer as suggestions in the whole class discussion that are either offered in writing or as pre-programmed into their communication devices. Students can go on to work in groups or partners to complete other shades of meaning with target vocabulary that they choose from the text or that you have pre-selected. Once completed, you have student-created word walls that enhance the richness of the literacy in the classroom environment, provide resources for students during assignments or in interactions, and also provide excellent springboards for other activities. Now it's your turn. Think about a text you use in your classroom that is engaging and grade appropriate. What rich, powerful vocabulary could you target from this text? How will you plan ahead for students' unique communication needs to ensure they can participate in the instruction and activities? How will you think aloud to help students brainstorm related words and further understand the relationship between them? How could you use the completed shades of meaning to provide additional opportunities for practice and use? Vocabulary learning is a strong indicator of achievement in English language arts. We hope that this mini workshop has provided useful information and strategies that you can take straight back to your classroom. Using principles of differentiation can allow you to meet the needs of the diverse learners that you have in your classroom and provide excellent standards-aligned instruction. Here at Keystone, we're committed to supporting teachers in making this a reality. We provide a variety of professional development and technical assistance to meet your specific needs. Visit our website often as we continue to add to this series to provide quick mini workshops to support standards-aligned instruction for students with extensive learning needs. If you have any questions about this mini workshop or about the services that we provide, please don't hesitate to contact us. You should see my email on the screen right now. Thanks again for stopping by today, and we hope to see you again soon.